Two straight over some decent teams. How about that? Miami Hurricanes live right here at the Voice of College Football every Tuesday with the Wholesome One. So, man, if you don't appreciate this, I don't know what is running through your veins these days. We got the Wholesome One here every week to talk Miami football at 1:15 Eastern time with you. So bring those comments, those questions. We got the Super Chat available as well right here at the Voice of College Football. Wholesome One, how we doing?
We're doing good, Mark. We're doing good. It's always a good day. Grateful for life, things of that nature, man. And the Miami Hurricanes are on 1-0 in our most recent game. And we have another one coming up this upcoming Saturday against a pretty quality and solid Georgia Tech team. They're just going to give them a little bit of a fight. But, man, you look at the last 2 weeks, and I tell you what, it's been nice to see these young guys go out and make plays.
So you hit on something right there that I'm going to add to something else I want to hit on. So I got two topics for you, but we might as well start with the last thing you just said, young guys. It's been nice to see the young guys stepping up playing. Mm-hmm. So this is something that you have talked about since August, March, back in spring practice, to say, there are a number of guys that are coming into this program or have already been in this program maybe for a year that I want to see more of, because either I've evaluated them in high school and I know that they're top-notch talent, or right, they've been in the program a year and the people in front of them, the players in front of them, are not performing at the level that we need to perform to compete for championships. Therefore, they need to be given a shot. Okay. We got into the season, a game against Alabama, game against App State, and it became pretty obvious after 2 or 3 games, okay, these players that have not performed in these particular positions for 2 or 3 years still are not performing to the standard that needs to be displayed. Let's get the young guys on the field now. Okay. After about 6 or 7 games, this has finally taken hold to a certain extent, and we've gotten results where this team has beat what I would consider, and most people, to be the 2 best teams in the conference this year over the last 2 weeks with the young guys in the lineup.
Mm-hmm. Oh, all right, let's go ahead and get into it, Mark. Man, I talked about this on the channel last night. It's irking me, because what gets misconstrued a lot is that people are misunderstanding the message that we're trying to get across. The reason why we want change so adamantly is because we don't want what's currently happening to the old guys to happen to the young guys later. That's what we keep saying. There's just a simple interview that happened March-ish. Tracy Howard was interviewed on a fellow YouTuber. Okay, I had this guy on my channel last night, in his Footballville, and we're sitting there, we're talking, and he's like, "Man, do you remember that Tracy Howard interview?" And I said, "Yeah, I remember all of it." And he's like, "Do you remember what he said specifically about what happened in his time over the 4-year stretch of his time there at Miami?" I said, "Well, what are you specifically trying to get at?" And he says, when he first got to Miami, he's coming from Miramar, where they lost the state championship game in Broward County, to Tampa playing. That was his second loss in his career at Miramar, and he was not used to losing games like that. Like pouring tears, angry that they lost this game. He gets to Miami as a freshman in 2012, and they're losing games left and right. We ended out that season 6-6 and couldn't go to a bowl game. Okay. And what really irked him was the fact that the older guys were partying, getting drunk, and having a great time after losses. And it really irked him. By the time he became a senior in 2015, he was doing the exact same thing. Because culture is something that you have to make sure when you're building it that you're very careful at what you allow in, because it's so influential to your program. It's so influential to your program. And when the young guys see the old guys have bad things, you can create bad habits from just observing other people. Okay. You look at these older players, they feel like they should be old the starting position and owed a lot of snaps because when they were the young guys, you played the older guys no matter who was the better player. Now they're the older guy and they expect you to leave them alone, let them do their thing because we're the older guys. And when I was young, that's how you treated them. And that is something that Coach Diaz, from his time when he was a video assistant and a grad assistant at Tallahassee, when that program was rolling, that's what they did. Why? But we were an elite program. So you played the older guys because the older guys were better than the younger guys, no matter how good the younger guys were. So they got in line. They did what they had to do to grow as a player before they had the opportunity to actually go out there and play on the football field. Because the guys in front of them were just that damn good. That's not what's happening with Miami right now currently. And, you know, it's really sad. It's sad to see Gervin Hall go out there on their football field and look lost, play with low effort. Okay, it hurts to see guys like Mark Pope have to hit the transfer portal because they can't get it done at Miami anymore. They can't hack it. It just doesn't work. It hurts because, you know, the Mark Pope you watch in high school, you're like, hey, if he ever gets a chance to go and be a slot and go get developed and get some nice weight on him, learn how to really catch the ball, and this guy could be a serviceable player, could be a third, fourth round draft pick, and you'll have a solid, or just be a really good college football player. And that's not what we got. Okay. And the issue we continuously run into, and why I'm saying we have to have change, Mark, is we don't want to go through this again in another 3 years. So make it the right one right now. And trust me, we're going to get into, you know, the divide of the fan base between rooting for wins or rooting for losses because you want to see change. We'll get into that and we'll discuss it here a little after I'm done with this one here. But it to cap off what I mean by the young guys is you have people as far as Tyler Van Dyke, Ja'Kai Clark at center. You also have Jalen Knighton at running back. You have the influx of wide receivers, complete change at wide receiver. Defensive end-wise, guys like Chance Williams and Jafari Harvey, Leonard Taylor at defensive tackle, Keontra Smith at linebacker, James Williams and Cam Kitchens and Avonte Williams at safety. All of these things, it happened, and they're playing due to two things: injury and pressure from the outside, as far as the media putting it on this staff to play the better guys. It wasn't because they were just that they were better than them and then they earned the opportunity. Because there's nowhere in the world that you look at a guy like Ja'Kai Clark and in 5 weeks he's that much better than a super senior Corey Gaynor. He's always been that much better than him. They just wanted to give Corey Gaynor because they know he's given so much time and effort and he's tried so hard. And we want to give back to his hard work and reward him with playing time. Play the best men. And when you build the program on that, you're also teaching young men that if I were to lose my job to somebody who's just better than me, they're better than me. If I'm given a handout, even though I know I'm not the better player, you don't want that kind of man going out into the workforce because that mindset won't get you many places at all. Just won't.
Wholesome one. I remember us having a conversation, you and I, in August, and I told you I am going to be fascinated because let's take the wide receiver position. We know we have a couple guys that get significant playing time, D. Wiggins, Mark Pope, let's state their names, who have underachieved. So we have these other talented players coming either again that have been in the program, let's say a year, or are just newly freshmen having their first spring and fall camp. What's going to tell me when we hit the field against Alabama and who's out on the field and who gets the playing time is either miraculously D. Wiggins and Mark Pope got it. They miraculously in the last 4 weeks just a light bulb went
It
off
just clicked.
and they
Yeah.
became better players. We know what the deal is there. That rarely happens at this stage of a young man's career. It has happened at times, but it's very, very unlikely. So the other things that would be possible is that these young players just aren't prepared. They haven't developed quickly enough and they're not ready. And so the default is, well, let's go with the older players that at least know the plays in the offense. Or option number 3, which I hope was not happening, but we have strong evidence to the contrary, is that the coaching staff is just saying, regardless of what these young guys are doing in practice, even though they're showing us that they can step in and make an impact, we're still going to default to playing the veteran guys.
And think about that, Margaret. And how can you build a group of young men on that mindset? It just, and people have asked me, Wholesome, what about the inverse? What about, with you as someone who interacts with people, you love people, this is what you want to get into. How would you feel if you were in Manny Diaz's shoes? And I ask myself that question a lot, Mark, because it's easy for us to say that from afar. Okay, when you recruited a guy like Gervin Hall, you went into his home and asked his parents to trust you with his career, and then he gets to his senior year and you bench him. How would that feel? And you would have to look yourself in the mirror and truly question yourself that if he's been here for 4 seasons and I haven't done my job to make him better than somebody that just walked through the door, I failed that young man. But I would do even more detriment to him if I keep putting him out there on the football field and he continues to hurt himself and hurt his stock and hurt this team. And eventually you have to have those tough conversations with people who may or may not want to hear it. And you're going to have to hurt some feelings. You're going to have to hurt some feelings, man. It's just, it is what it is. Mr. HD, you are correct, man. With a lot of people, me included. Mark, I'm a very open book, man. I've been very open about some of the things, my mishaps and my misreads. Even with our the man himself, TVD. He was somebody I did not. When I saw his film, I saw where he was from. I watched his offense. I'm like, this guy, I'm not big on it. And the fact that he was Dan Enos' handpicked QB, like, God, no. And he comes out and he's balling. And just that easily, I hop on and say, I was wrong. I was wrong. This guy has it. He got it. He clicked. And, I don't necessarily know if I'm a hater, but if people want to list me as a hater, that's fine. I'm on a train now, okay? Because he's doing very well. It comes to a guy like James Williams. We had never seen anything like that. Never seen anything like 6'5", 230 at free safety. And, in my opinion, I was one of those people that was like, I'm not saying that I don't think he can do it. I don't want to try to teach someone or tell someone what they can't do in this life. That's not fair. What I am saying is, I think for the betterment of him and his future, him playing closer to the line of scrimmage will work out better for him. Well, guess what? He does both, and he does both at a high level. He plays deep thirds, he plays some middle linebacker, he rushes off the edge. He's playing all over the field. So, hey, kudos to the staff and him for being able to prepare him at multiple positions, and he's doing very, very well.
In the case of TVD, I don't want to be negative here, but there have been, especially at the quarterback position, because of the obvious easy analysis to make statistically and so forth, as opposed to a guard comes in for the first time and he plays a couple games and trying to evaluate him. It's obviously an easier evaluation for the typical fan, and it's just easier based on the position that he's playing. I'm just going to pump the brakes just a little bit. I would like to see more, but it has been impressive, the arm talent, and he has seemed to grow each week, develop a little bit more, limit the mistakes each week. So he started for the first time against Virginia, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So now we're looking at a third game, and it does look like he's very astute as a quarterback to continue to progress and also eliminate mistakes.
Mhm.
So
I
we shall
get that,
see.
Mark. When I say balling, I'm just so happy to see it because, and I've had plenty of conversations about this. I by no means mean any slander to De'Aaron King, but some of these throws, not all of them, but some of these throws we're seeing from Tyler Van
Yeah,
Dyke, De'Aaron King can't make.
yeah, he can rip it.
And I don't get why people think that's a slight. I don't get it. There are some things in this life that people can do better than me, and I can do better than them. It doesn't make me better than them, or they should just fall down to the ground and kiss my feet, or vice versa. No. But what I am saying is there are certain throws that Tyler Van Dyke can make, De'Aaron King can't. There's certain plays that De'Aaron King could make that Tyler Van Dyke cannot.
Absolutely. Exactly.
It's just that simple. It's I have to say that, man, because some people get all up in arms about that.
Exactly. What you're pointing out, it seems for some reason that people get offended by making the arm strength and the arm talent comparison, but you can go ahead and make that the running comparison and nobody has an issue with that. I don't understand that. They're both part of the position. The throwing is a must. The running is a bonus. But it's obvious that, yeah, De'Aaron King can make plays with his feet that Tyler Van Dyke will never be able to make. But now we see Van Dyke making plays with the arm that I was thinking the same exact thing.
And then there's also plays that De'Aaron King can make throwing on the run that TVD can't. There's plenty of times where in this Pittsburgh game that we're about to break down, where he was trying to roll out to his left and it started to bring pressure, and he wasn't able to really get out there. And when he tried to throw on the run, it's just not his thing. Tyler Van Dyke likes to be able to step into his throws. Throwing on the run is not his thing. De'Aaron King, he's on a rollout. He can make a pinpoint throw, on the run. But that's just everybody brings certain things to the table. Khalil Mack and Von Miller are both elite edge rushers. One rushes a certain way, the other one doesn't. It's just how it works, man. It's how they make the cookie crumble and how they get to the promised land. But that's neither here nor there. I want to put that out there because I don't want people on the hashtag rewatch squad or people here currently to think that we make any delight in slandering De'Aaron King while we're praising Tyler Van Dyke for what he's currently doing. Because, like I said, I blame Skip Bayless for this. People have this mindset of when you're discussing two people, you must uplift one. And while you're uplifting the other, you must push down one to make them go higher. When you can easily just give quote unquote great respect and appreciation for what both people bring to the table. It's just one is better than the other, in your opinion. It's that's just debate TV. He's made a career on doing it, and I can't freaking stand him for it. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it is. I won't go into that, but I would wholeheartedly agree that I hope that myself, and I know that you walk a thin line and do it very well in terms of evaluating players and evaluating teams while still being respectful and not just slandering and bashing just to get clicks and cause a stir and get views.
Yeah.
New King God, thank you so much for the contribution. We appreciate it. New King is asking, why do you feel that other linebackers are not playing? Flag isn't good enough to just be given a lot of playing time. What's stopping them from giving playing time to other players?
Flag just isn't good enough, huh? He just went straight to it. Man, Mark, linebacker's been one of those positions that I can't quite put my thumb on it. I don't understand, but I can try to answer the question. For me, when there's three different minds teaching you a way that they want linebacker to be played or coached, it's mind-boggling. You have Manny Diaz, who is the defensive coordinator. and linebackers overseer, you would say. Then you have Packy, who is the inside linebackers. You have Ishmael Aristide, who's outside linebacker, right? All three of them are teaching and have individual period with the linebackers. And according to people in the know, meaning some of the players, all three and recruits, all three of them teach different things, and all three of them are looking for different things in starting linebackers. Where it's like, how do you build a linebacking core? Now, obviously, outside linebackers and middle linebackers do different things. I get that. But as far as some of the drills you go through, as far as the thought process, as far as reading your keys, as far as reading a triangle, attacking what part of the body, how to wrap up, a lot of that stuff should be all on the same page or similar pages. Because there's a linebacker recruit right now who has been on record in one of his interviews to saying that he is currently recruited by all three different people, and all three different coaches have told him a different way that they would use him at Miami at linebacker. But they all coach linebackers for the same school. Like that it doesn't register to me. Maybe I'm a crazy man. I don't know. But currently, what's going on with linebacker is I think it is a underdeveloped and under-recruited position recently, to where we have a whole bunch of try hard, great effort. You see them trying as hard as they can, and they want to be good. They're just not fast enough. They're not quick enough. They're just not good enough. And think of the three deep right now at inside linebacker, Mark. You have BJ Jennings, 3-star, suffice. Corey Flagg, 3-star, suffice. Tyreek Austin Cave, suffice. Deshaun Troutman, 2-star. What's that? You can argue everyone I just named to you is not even a starting Miami caliber linebacker. Now, like I've said before, I have no quarrel with making slander according to these young men and them earning a full ride scholarship to the University of Miami. I'm not here to slander them. I'm just saying, if we're being honest and this program is being run well or run white, I don't know if these guys even get scholarships here. Okay. Then you look at the fact that you're rotating these same guys, but then you don't cross-train your middle linebackers and your weak side linebackers in a 4-2-5 scheme. You only play in 2 linebackers a down. Keontra Smith should know middle linebacker just like he knows will linebacker. Wayman Steed should know Will, just like he knows Mike. Avery Huff should know Will and Mike, because you should be able to be interchangeable. You never know when someone goes down. But the way that Coach Diaz runs his scheme, and the reason why we have walk-on linebackers on the field sometimes, is because you get trained for whatever you get trained for, and there's that. You don't cross-train out linebackers. It's like, I don't see much help coming, excluding the fact that, in my opinion, you start number 4, Keontra Smith at will, and I would move Avery Huff. I would move Wayman Steed, number 17, over the middle linebacker. I think that's the best way that you have a nice combination of speed and acceleration on the football field at the same time. That's going to go out there and make plays. The other thing is we've had a guy like Sam Brooks who, everyone and their mom understands he's one of the better linebackers on the team, but he, for some ungodly reason, can't find a way to be on the football field. My whole thought process behind linebacker has been with Sam Brooks is that he was a stand-up outside linebacker in a 3-3-5 system at Miami Northwestern. If we could find a way to get Trent Harris snaps at defensive end, if we could find a way to get Zach McLeod snaps at defensive end, he's been playing very well, actually. There should be room for Sam Brooks at defensive end. And let's stop, trying to fit a triangle in a square hole. Like it doesn't make sense. That's not what he's good at. Can we just put him there, bro? Can we just let him go to defensive end and play?
Eli Owen, appreciate you being here. Appreciate the super chat contribution. Appreciate the comment. Best content on YouTube on Miami football. Thank you for that. Shay's got a question. Well,
Okay.
you can certainly post a question at some point. Hashtag live squad. Hashtag rewatch squad. We love you as well. So we're not forgetting about you. We appreciate you being here. Martin, yes. Good evening, Mark and Wholesome One. The temperature here is around 90. I can only imagine how Burr it is up there. We're hanging around 55, I would guess. Something in that range.
I wonder what we are here. 30. We're 30.
30? Wow. It's already taken a tumble, huh?
Yeah, it's been hanging around for a long time, Mark. So we're like, eventually it's gonna pop. Mark, we were in like the 70s all the way up until late October. By this time last year here in Fargo, it was snow on the ground. It was freezing at this point. And nope. So we either gonna get a brown Christmas or a really, really late winter, and then the spring is gonna be unbearable. Because actually here, that's where we get our coldest times, is January to April.
Yeah.
Where we start drifting to like the negative 30s to negative 21. And, you know, like we got blue light Sundays where you're not supposed to be outside past 6 p.m. because it's that cold, unless you're going for essential food or something like that.
That's crazy.
Not
quite that cold here.
It's wild.
It's cold. We hit the deep freeze sometime around Christmas through February for sure, but not like that. More in the 25 range.
True.
All right.
True.
Got FJ on here. H1HMR. Any thoughts on the Tim Reynolds tweet this morning about DBC and alleged bear attack? Do we know it? I started reading that before I had actually gone ahead and read it. You know how you pre-read it in your head and then you can spit it out. I did not do that, so I probably should have.
But I don't even know what none of that means.
No, I don't either. Don't either. Here we go. Martin, appreciate you being here and enjoy the 90-degree weather. Wholesome One, your thoughts on what Kirby Smart said about how recruiting is the difference and that, X's and O's are secondary to having good players. I don't know if you heard that comment. There was a bit of a back and forth between Kirby Smart and Dan Mullen. Not on the surface, they didn't go back and forth, but kind of underlying. And actually, I know most of the people listening to me right now are not big Florida fans, but at the same time, we had a great conversation with David Waters from Gators Breakdown. So check out that when it's released here soon, because David was actually the guy that asked Dan Mullen the question about recruiting that led to him taking some offense at that and refusing to answer it.
Yeah, I know plenty of time. I've watched that. I'm a big presser guy, except for Miami. I can't watch Manny Diaz pressers. I'm sorry. But, you know, Mario Cristobal, Kirby Smart, Lane Kiffin, Dan Mullen, the Notre Dame head coach. I like to listen to one of the best ones, honestly, is Penn State's head coach. He's
James
amazing.
Okay.
James Franklin is amazing with how he speaks about preparation week in and week out and how they got beat that week. And there were certain holes in his team that the other team were able to exploit, and they caught us I mean, it is, he tells a lot, but you could tell he's a talker. He's probably a former teacher, honestly, but he's great with his interviews. But yeah, I watch it, and I watched Kirby Smart in the original comment and the follow-up comments after that, where, you know, post game of the outdoor cocktail party, where he talks about the fact that the difference was they had the better players. Okay. It's not X's and O's, it's Jimmy and Joe's to a certain extent, as far as what he's saying. And a lot of Miami fans have battled back and forth with this, but we all know that elite teams, national championship teams, have both. And that's what you have to do. You're going to have to stack the cupboard bare, but you're also going to have to develop those people. You're also going to have to call good plays. It's a three-part thing: development, execution, recruiting. They all go together. Okay. The reason why you look at the eliteness of Nick Saban is because he's able to do all of that. Plus, he's also able to manage some of the best coaches to come in and coach and recruit the best of the best. So that's how it all kind of meshed together for him. But I think it's a great point, man. You have to be able to have the best players out there making plays for you. And then not only do they do well the very next year, you got to bring in the best strong side defense in. And you just landed Kayvon Thibodeau the class before, you got to get Will Anderson the next class. And after Will Anderson, you turn around and you go get Johnny five-star defense again. Now you have a mixture where one can play strong, one can play will. One can play will, one can play strong. They both can be on the field on third downs. You move the big one into defensive tackle on third downs or stand him up and blitz him off the edge. But what you do there is when you do that, you continuously create great competition in practice because you cannot ease up. You cannot miss an assignment. You cannot miss class. You can't be late to practice because the young man behind you is nipping at your heels. And it's not about deterring one or down talking one or the other. It's about everyone, iron sharpening iron, and making yourself better. Okay. Now that's a very overused term, and people use it all. Oh man, just keep recruiting. Recruiting, you could call recruits all the time. Can you land them? That's why I get into this debate a lot with people about Mario Cristobal when he was at Bama. It's like, yes, he from 2013 to 2016, he was rated the #1 recruiter in the country. So people say, no, he's at Bama. What do you expect? Yes, but that means he's also recruiting the best players and having to compete against the best recruiters in his own conference and nationally. There's a different level of recruit he had to go and get than he would have to go get at Miami, that he had to compete and try to fight for and had to land as the head of recruiting at Alabama. You got to beat Georgia out. You got to beat LSU out. You got to beat Ole Miss and Mississippi State, who's trying to tell them you can come here and play as a freshman. You'll never play at Alabama. You can come here and be our guy. When you go there, you're just an ID number and a jersey number. Okay, you got Ohio State coming in also. You got the West Coast teams coming in. You got Texas and Oklahoma also recruiting against you. And for him to be able to land those guys, it showed a lot to me as far as he knows what he has to have. He knows what it should look like, and he knows how practices should be ran and should look like. You know, I'm not going to turn this into a Mario Cristobal to the U show, but that's just stuff I'm passionate about that because, Mark, it is important. Okay, you got to have people who know how to do these things if you want to see change. It can't have somebody that's just going to walk in and have a booklet about it, you know, because that's what we're having the last couple of times. Al Golden walks in and he has his Pillars to Success notebook, and it was mind-blowing to the administration. Benny Diaz comes in and he has his, whatever term he has for what his plan for pulling things together and rebuilding the University of Miami and fast talking, and people are just like, oh, wow, he's doing a good job. And Mark, I'll finish out this before we go to the next subject here, and we'll do a recap on the Pitt game here before we do a preview on Georgia Tech. I want to ask you this, Mark, how many times do you believe that real football people hire football people?
I believe it happens much more frequently at the next level in the NFL because there have been true football people that have played the game, coached the game, that have ascended into higher ranks. Not that that's the norm, but it's more common. But at the collegiate level, I think that most of the time, non-football people are hiring football people.
Okay. I've been wondering that because one of the things that gets me is I was one of the people I had on with me, Coach Hayes. He asked me that question, and I was like kind of mind blown about it because his viewpoint is now there's a guy that's been a former high school head coach in Orlando, and he was on Mario's staff as a defensive assistant on the defensive line. And he's sitting there saying, Holson, when I got interviewed, I got my playbook right here. And I'm ready to pull it out and break it down. I got my dry erase board to get on a. No, they're sitting there asking you about PR stuff and give you situations. What would you do if one of your players was doing this? And do you have any disciplinary things in your plan for if this happens and that happens? That's what those people are asking you. They're not asking you how you're going to line up and beat Tallahassee on a 3rd and 7, and it's 2 minutes left on the clock, and you're on offense and you're driving. How are you going to what play are you going to call to get us in the end zone? How are you going to set up your game-winning touchdown play? So what's been happening is, and that's not just at Miami, that's just at any place that isn't elite. I mean, it's only like 4 elite teams in the whole country, only 4 elite programs in the whole country, but it's mind-blowing to think about it like that. So the reason why I think there are so many crappy hires, Mark, is because you don't have football people hiring for football. You have PR people, you have office people. And what I mean by people is men and women. There's female and male athletic directors and assistants that sit in these meetings. Okay, and that's not here to say that a woman doesn't know what makes a good football player, because she might. There's a woman that knows a lot of good damn football. Okay. But what happens as far as the staff that they're required to bring in? What's going to happen with that situation? So I'm happy that Miami is trying to move to a different direction administration-wise for us to pull some things together where we're going to have football people making football decisions moving forward.
Well, I would hope, and I'll just liken this to my last interview experience, which was a long, long time ago, but still, I was taken through the ringer for an entire day, and I was basically interviewed for 7 or 8 hours. And I interviewed with this person, then I interviewed with those 2 people, then I interviewed with and they all had their slice of expertise and their angle on it. And I would hope that the same thing was done to a certain extent, maybe not to that extent, but to where you have a collection of people that all have expertise in different areas can then evaluate that head coach. You're going to be paying this individual $5, $6, $7 million a year, and they're going to be running your by far most lucrative sports program. You would think that they would want perspective from a number of people.
Right. And Mark, all I'm saying is they could have had multiple people, half a dozen people interview. But what if Miami is doing what those half a dozen people asked them to do? And it has nothing to do with how to win football games.
Yeah.
It had everything to do with how to clear the name of the University of Miami. Okay. How to get away from being Thug U. How to get away from being viewed as Catholics versus convicts. That's what I feel like we've been doing so long on, is trying to run away from that past, when in my opinion, it's far away from us. The 90s Canes did. Butch Davis's Canes didn't do that. Larry Coker's Canes didn't do that. Al Golden's Canes didn't do that. Randy Shannon's Canes didn't do that. Heck, if you want to talk about anything being flashy in your face, the Manny Diaz turnover chain Canes are doing that, but that's on the sideline. That's on our sideline facing our home field crowd or the away crowd on our side of the stadium. So what I'm hoping, and we're being very positive about this moving forward, I want them to understand that you don't have to keep running away from your past, because no matter how much you try, the Raiders are still hated for how they were viewed in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. The Canes are going to be hated no matter what. That's just how it is. You continue to run an uplifted program. You continue to have a high graduation rate and fill the NFL and build great people. But you don't have to keep running away, because guess what? Your past is your past. It's there. There's nothing you can do to go back and change the Army fatigue, the DX chops. You can't. It's there. What you can do is continue to build a good future. And that's build a good program based on accountability and high principles, winning football games and doing it together as a unit, as one you. And that's what I believe our next hire is going to be required to have to do, is to build that kind of program and not be afraid of your past, but lean into it and say that was us, but this is us now. That's what we have to do.
Yeah, I would hope in that, again, in that interview process, it being that important with that much money and importance on the line for that particular position, that coach would be asked, you're taking on Florida State, you're down 4, it's 4th and 4, you're in the red zone, there's 52 seconds left in the game, what do you do? But he would also be asked, you get a call at 2 a.m. and one of your players was just, arrested for X, Y, and Z, what are you going to do? Because he's going to have to face both of those situations.
Absolutely. And that's the thing about where people people miss that, man. They miss that once you become the head man, Mark, the last thing you're going to do is call plays and X's and O's, because you are a CEO of a multi-million-dollar business. And what you always have to remember is you represent an institution, not just the football program, but any and everything you do from this point forward represents that entire school. And they care about PR. That's the biggest thing. Unless you're in the SEC and no one cares about PR because they're Republicans. They don't care about PR. You can say whatever you want about them. Where's my money? Where's my money and where's my results? Those are the two things they care about.
Okay, FJ, we'll give this one more shot because you delivered this on a super chat now, and I have always vowed to read every super chat, of course, unless there's something profane on it. Hashtag Live Squad, H1H1 and MR. Any thoughts on the Tim Reynolds tweet this morning about DBC and an alleged bear attack? I
don't know who that
we'll
is.
Just keep going.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate that. And we've got Sporto coming in. Completely agree with
Sparta. It's the Sparty.
Oh, my bad. My
Michigan
bad.
State fan.
Thank you. Oh, I didn't see the I will let people know that I don't have contacts or obviously glasses on right now. I'm blowing up the screen about this big to read that, so I wiped out the profile picture and did not see the yes. Thank you, Sparta. Completely agree with Wholesome about running from your past. Miami football and the U basketball are very similar in this regard, and both have been in the gutter for the past 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, he put IU, so I think he's talking about Indiana.
Oh, Indiana. Oh,
yeah.
Yes, IU basketball.
Miami football and IU basketball. Yeah, and I agree, man. It's one of those things where, and it takes someone who's thoroughly confident in who they are and what logo they represent. We all know what happened at Penn State, but look at what the head coach did. Now, I think Bill O'Brien was the head coach when all that stuff came out, but their head coach now, Coach Franklin, hasn't run away from that. Ungodly apologetic about what happened. But that stuff is not going to influence what me and my men do here, day in and day out.
Absolutely. So Miami grabs a couple score lead on Pitt, hangs on for the win 38-34. What are your major takeaways?
A fort. We're gonna do it one more time. Mark, I don't even know if you know where this comes from. You ever seen someone do that before?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm guessing that is look at the name on my back. Right?
Actually, no. That started from a professional wrestler by the name of Rob Van Dam. So the thing we do in the Miami Hurricanes, he went by RVD. So when he does this rolling thunder thing where he kind of rolls and then he rolls again and lands on the guy that's laying on the ground. And before he does it, he stops in the crowd and they go, Rob Van Dam. He also goes by RVD. So the same thing we do for TVD whenever we talk about it's just TVD. It's really cool, man. It's they even like did edited videos and pictures of it. It's kind of cool. Um, I'm hoping he actually does that for a touchdown celebration. That would be sick. If the crowd knew to go and chant his name after he does the thumb point, and that would be really cool. Anyhow, back to what I was saying before. He's it feels good, man. It feels good to see a young man have success. And like I said, as someone who I guess you could call me a hater at one point, just to see him prove a lot of us wrong. And to do it to where he's out there when it's back against the wall, you see him care. He's super passionate. I mean, he was crying and in tears when he threw the game losing interception against North Carolina because he felt like that was his fault. And they fought so hard into that game. And his misread resulted in his team not being able to finish a great comeback. And it really bothered him. But then on the inverse about that, Mark, he comes out and he started fast the last 2 weeks. NC State, he starts out fast. We hold on late. Pitt starts out fast. We hold on late. Okay. It just he's something that you long for to have at that QB position. A gamer, man. Someone who, like, I don't care what just happened that previous play, as far as if you get sacked or swatted pass, I'm gonna make it the next play. Mark, I'm gonna tell you our first 3 plays on offense after Pitt went straight down the field and scored against this Miami defense. The first play of the game, a sack. A second play of the game, a TFL. Third play of the game, a 35-yard strike roll right over the top to Keyshawn Smith to set up the Elijah Arroyo first career touchdown catch in 4 plays. He didn't get down on himself. He wasn't mad. Our left tackle and our left guard didn't communicate a TE stunt. Yes, it's the first play of the game on the road. Now, of course, once you get into the film, we're going to talk about this and try to get it figured out. But he hopped right up. They pulled him up and he's just like, hey, let's go. You see him clapping at him. Let's go. We line up. We try to hand it off to Rooster. TFL. He goes over there to help Rooster up. He's like, let's go, guys. Come on, wake up. Then he goes 4 wide, 35 bomb to Keyshawn, right over the top. And you see the sideline erupt. You see our offensive line get that confidence. You're like, all right, you're right. Let's go. Let's do this thing. That kind of leadership and that oral, that being vocal, because one thing about the QB position, being a humble, quiet guy who just does his job, and that stuff doesn't get people moving. Okay, you think about some of the most polarizing figures at that QB position. You think of Winston at Tallahassee. You think of Tebow at UF. You think of Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M. These guys were vocal and fiery. Even I can't stand this dude, but Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma. Fiery, in your face kind of people. Bring it home to Miami. Ken Dorsey. He seemed like a quiet dude who didn't say much, but once you put on that uniform, he turned into a mental animal because he's on your head, and we're here to win freaking football games. That is what we've been needing at Miami. Because you look at Brad Kyle, who we think is a very good QB, he's a very quiet guy, soft-spoken, quiet guy. You look at Ja'Cory Harris, soft-spoken, quiet. Malik Rozier act like he didn't care that he throws 3 interceptions in big games and no one says anything. N'Kosi Perry was a little bit more fiery, but we always tried to keep his flame low, and we shouldn't get too rowdy. You need to calm down. That's the way that they coddled and treated N'Kosi Perry, and I'm so happy he's doing very well up at FAU. But that's the first thing that I look at with the good part of what's happening is the coming out party of Tyler Van Dyke, man. He's doing very, very well. The offensive line. Good, some bad. When they need to, and they give him time, and they pick up stunts and blitzes, man, TVD can carve you to shreds. When they don't, he has escapability to a certain extent, Mark, but not crazy escapability where he could just take off for 30 yards. Okay, so we got to be very careful with that. Wide receiver wise, I think we're doing very well with some of our wide receivers, but the dropsies is still a big problem for Miami. And that's unacceptable. The dropsies, this is the second week in a row, where Rambo has dropped a wide open touchdown. Second time in a row where he's dropped it. Also, FTW 305 NDC, listen to me. If you can find any video of Brad Kaya being vocal, I would love for you to at me on Twitter. It's at Holloway_52. And please show me so that I can stand and be corrected. But anytime I've seen Brad Kaya, he was a very mild-mannered, quiet to himself kind of quarterback. I'm not saying that that's bad, because you can skin a cat multiple different ways, and success comes from multiple different ways. But based on what I was illustrating as far as a very vocal and loud in-your-face QB, I don't believe in my history of knowing this program and watching Brad Kaya in his full career here, from his very first game against Louisville in 2014 to his very last game against West Virginia in 2016 in a bowl game. I did not see that Brad Kaya. But again, if you want to correct me, I would openly stand corrected. That doesn't bother me.
Unfortunately, Wholesome One, I'm going to need to wrap. We're at 2:15, and I've got to wrap it up here. The one thing I'll say about the quarterback being vocal that I would think would be important is that, just like any other person in an organization, is that the same person shows up every day, but especially at that position, because they're the leader, that you don't get a vocal guy one week and a not a vocal guy the next week because he's just kind of in a mood and he's having a bad week or a bad day or other things are going on in his life. And you need consistency, of course, as well.
Absolutely. Okay. All right, man. But my bad. I was going on the soliloquy there. But anyway, we do have a Pitt. That was a recap on Pitt. We do have a big game coming up this week against Georgia Tech. You know what is crazy, Mark? Before I get out of here, I do have to tell you this.
Sure.
Do you remember my score last week?
Your score?
Yep. Do you remember my score prediction?
No, I don't.
Mark, I had the exact same score, but I had the wrong team with the game. Okay. I said 38-34 Pitt, and I felt like they had the better QB, and he would make a couple plays that we didn't.
Yeah.
And vice versa happened. But anyway,
I was pretty much in the same ballpark. I picked Pitt to win the game, but I took the 9.5 points on the point spread, which reminds me, everybody, 13-5 against the spread. So join us on Patreon.
I'm not so good against the spread. That is so tricky. I think that comes with experience. But hey, I appreciate you, Mark, so much, man. As always, go Canes.
Wholesome One, appreciate it. Thanks, man. Everybody be back here next Tuesday at 1:15. Our next live is Iowa Live on the main channel and the Iowa channel, 5:30 Eastern. We'll see you then.